This chapter did a great job of really developing some admiration and respect for Sunny and his powers and how he utilizes them, which I thought was cool.
Gourmet number 47, Hair Battle.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and action-packed, inspiring, thrill-a-minute tale of Toriko. Certainly our last chapter saw us with really Toriko, Komatsu, and Rin kind of running for their lives, and now Toriko can kind of sense that Starjin has entered the mammoth, which we did see at the end of the chapter there. And again, I don't know if he just kind of shot straight through in a hole or if he went up the bunghole or what. Not really concerned about that one either. I just know that he's in there, and Toriko and company, of course, are like, all right, we got it. Now it's a race against time. We got to get to the jewel meat first because we don't want to encounter this some bitch, right? So anyway, that's where the chapter left off. This one actually goes and takes a turn, and it brings us back to Sunny, who's fighting the GT robot, of course. Now, we did see him briefly in the last chapter, and that GT robot was basically just like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep my distance and dodge your attacks, almost like the Terry thing that he tried to do with Starjin. Because, he realizes that, hey, listen, you're eventually going to wear down, and I'm not going to wear down, so I'll just wait until you get tired and make a mistake, and that's how the chapter left off. This one picks up, and it's firmly, the entire chapter is all the battle between Sunny and this GT robot, and it's done very well. I really enjoy it. It starts off by this GT robot going, and he's the one that's kind of got the weird-looking bamboo headdress sticking out of its head, and he goes and he kind of backs off, and he goes and sits down, and he pulls out, and he's like, I'm going to look at the spoils of, war, basically, the things I've been collecting, and he's the one that's been going through, that went through the prehistoric area and everything like that, and was just slaughtering animals just to slaughter them. He opens up this box, and Sunny's like, ooh, what the hell, my god, man, and it's filled with squirming eyeballs, right, and it's pretty freaking gross, even drawn in black and white, and me realizing that it's fictional kind of made my stomach roll over a little bit. Not very cool. But he goes and he pulls these things out, and he's like, yeah, look, did you ever know that, eyeballs just like, sometimes the brain doesn't disconnect completely after an animal or a bug or something like that. I forget exactly the different types, but when their head gets cut off, it still writhes around because the brain hasn't gotten the sensor yet, like, hey, we're dead, So same type of thing with the eyeballs, and so he's looking at this one, and he's like, oh, this one stopped looking at me, and he throws it away. And then he goes and he has this little, almost like a little flashback type thing, and it looks like a picture of the Obosaurus, and he's like, yeah, I'll get yours soon or something like that. And I don't know, maybe I missed out on it, and I'm not really sure, but I did see that. So then it winds up going to Sunny, and it gives a real nice explanation on his hair sensors and how he uses everything, because he has approximately 200,000 sensors. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get some help over here. So if you could just hold on a second, and we'll get him in. I'm not even gonna ask. I'm just assuming you're ready. So go.
Oh, all right. You want to know about Sunny? Okay. Listen, Sunny doesn't control every one of his more than 200,000 sensors. The more sensors he tries to manipulate, the shorter the range and number he's able to operate. In other words, if he increases their number and ramps up their power, his effective range is fiercer but shorter. So when he goes balls to the wall crazy with all 200,000 of them, he's got about an effective range of about 3 meters. But if he wants to increase his reach, he has to decrease the number he's controlling. He can go up to 20, 25 meters, and then he's somewhere in the 30,000 hair range. And since each sensor has nerves running through it, he can't use them for long periods of time without exhausting them from exposure and stress. As a result, Sunny generally controls more like 50,000 strands with a reach of approximately 20 meters. As he tires, he begins rotating out hairs. The longest he can keep his sensors using them is around an hour. Sunny knows this going into any battle, though.
And now we take you back to your regularly scheduled moron.
Hey, I heard that.
And?
Okay.
So anyway, obviously now we understand how many he can put in use at a time, his effective range, some of those different things. Very, very cool stuff, I thought, anyway, to go and kind of see that and hear that and see what actually happens. Now, this GT robot, he winds up going, and as he's looking in these eyeballs and sitting down and everything like that, if you remember right, it looked like he had these weird, worms, almost tentacles coming out of his face when he opened it up before. So then he goes and he says, oh yeah, by the way, why don't you meet this little fella that's been following me around since I got inside here? And his face opens up, and you see his little tentacles come out, and all of a sudden, this Octopus comes out of him, capture level 25. And I'm like, what the hell? And I mean, this thing comes out and it's like 5 times the size of the GT robot. So I don't know what the deal is there with the density and everything, the density and mass of the actual thing somehow was able to fit inside there. It comes sprawling out, and it starts, obviously it's got hundreds of tentacles and it's going and attacking Sonny. And Sonny, of course, is starting to get worn down over here, and that's what the GT robot is depending on, because obviously when we talked about, when we just heard everything that was presented, he can effectively, keep it up for about an hour, with his sensors and everything. But certainly when he has to use more of them for various occasions, it's one of his weaknesses, what it is. And normally it's something that, he can certainly keep a close rein on and keep it reined in and everything. But, on the slim chance that someone figures out that weakness, I mean, because honestly, what battle's going to go for an hour? Even in the fictional world that we're in right now, battles are probably going to take place over, a course of minutes, not hours. But so definitely his dining kitchen is something to certainly be a force to be reckoned with for the most part. But the only kind of chink in the armor, I guess you would say, is that if you can outlast him, so that's what the GT robot's counting on. So as this thing's attacking him, he's trying to block, and he's blocking with his different sensors and his hair and everything like that. He finally just goes and he says, you know what? That's it. I'm done with this. I'm done with you. It's not even worth it. And he retracts all his sensors, And all he's doing is trying to lure and kind of goad the GT robot into coming after him, which he does. The GT robot just gets up and comes after him, and boom, and they're exchanging blows. And for the most part, it's pretty one-sided for a couple of pages. Sonny's taking some good hits, some good blows. There's some blood spurting out of his mouth and everything, and he's taking some knocks here from the GT robot. But all he was trying to do was pull him in close. He was just trying to lure him in close. And it's like I talked in a couple chapters previous extensively about what Terry was doing and everything. He understood that in overwhelming odds, what he was going to have to do is he was going to have to keep his distance and wait for an opening. Hopefully wear down his opponent. That's what the GT robot's trying to do to Sonny. When Sonny saw that was happening, he countered that by basically going and realizing that this guy is full of himself, and he wants the accomplishment and of being able to, and the badge on his chest of like, I defeated one of the 4 kings. So he's going to go and he's going to make an error in judgment, and he's going to jump in and try to attack Sonny when he sees an opening that Sonny left for him. But all it was obviously just luring him in. It was the smoke and mirrors tactic. So he brings him in, and he's attacked. He's beating the shit out of him. And then he's like, I hated your face since I saw you, you smug little pretty boy, this and that. And then Sonny all of a sudden is just like, you just see, hair lock, and he's just like, he goes, yeah, same goes for me. I've taken your punches and this and that, and now I'm going to give them back to you. And the GT robot's like, or now it's my turn. The GT robot's like, oh damn. Because the whole thing he was trying to avoid was like Sonny's crazy sort of just feral demon thing that comes out of him. And the neat thing is that with Toriko and with Coco, I think that's more of like a projection, like an oral projection, like everybody's been telling me. But with him, I think it actually is the way they showed it. It actually is like all of his strands of hair kind of coming up out of him and turning into just this crazed looking hair beast, and at least that's what I kind of get from it. So it's kind of neat. He goes and he's just like, oh yeah, you want some of this? And he just goes and he's like, take this 20,000 strand hair punch. And I mean, he just fucking jacks him up, and it's cool because Sonny, and the GT robot are face to face. When the hair monster comes out of him or whatever, right? The bad hair day monster comes out and gives him the 20,000 punch. It's just like, just planting him firmly into the ground, man. I mean, it's great. You can see it obviously right in the page over there. Just excellent. Afterwards, there's nothing but a crater with this sumbitch in there, and he's just like, man. And then even Sonny goes and he says, he's like, he goes, man, you are a pretty strong opponent or whatever, because I thought that hair punch, that 20,000 strand hair punch would have shattered you, would have broke you, would have decimated you, right? And the GT robot is obviously wounded and everything, but it's kind of cool because he goes and still talking some shit about, oh, just wait until I this and that. And Sonny's like, who said I was going to let you have an opening again? Then he goes and he throws some Coco shit at him, like from a couple chapters ago, and he's just like, yeah, while I did that 20,000, hair spiked punch on you or whatever, right? By the way, I went and I worked about 10,000 strands of hair into your actual core, and they've entangled and wrapped around your core. So basically, the more you struggle, the tighter that's going to get, and it's pretty much just going to completely fuck you up, because you got to look at like the core of these things is like their heart. You know what I mean? You look at it like that. If somebody squeezes your heart, right? Like an Indiana Jones thing, pulls it out of your chest. Kalima, Kalima, Nam Shabai. Anyway, but it was Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. If any of you haven't seen it, but if your heart obviously is pulled out of your chest, crushed, one of your, you lose, you lose a part of it because you get shot or whatever. Chances are you're gonna die. You're not gonna make it, And the point that I bring forth is that it was really cool the way Sonny does this, because then the GT robot goes and he gets up and he's like, oh, I gotta put as much distance as I can between him and me. And he gets up and he starts running away, right? Thinking he's gonna get out of it. And Sonny's just like, yep, okay, whatever, buddy. And as he's running, it's great because he just starts running. He starts running away, and and then all of a sudden just whap, and then they go and they show inside the core, and all these things just tangle up, just have basically just crushed the core, and he's just all fucked up, he winds up, and falls down, and then you got Sonny. See, I told you so. Too bad it's such an ugly victory, but there's some vindication in seeing you writhing like the spineless coward you are. It's just like, oh yeah, go Sonny. So, and I enjoy the way the whole fight kind of was broke down and everything like that. So, my chapter question for you though is really ultimately, what are your thoughts on Sonny at this point? At this point in the story, and again, not 200 chapters from now, where a lot of people may be. What is your thoughts on Sonny at this point? I asked that 20 chapters ago when we met him. But now that we have really seen and kind of gotten a great explanation of some of his powers, what are your thoughts of him, from here, this point, and of course moving forward? Leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We look forward to catching all of you in the next one, nation.
Do you like drawings? Do you like Megan Fox and think she's foxy? If you answered yes to either of those questions, go and take a look at my Facebook and Instagram page to see more like it.